Today, we're going to do something different. We're going to give an example of all this hopium and misinformation on the internet, on social media. And I'm going to show you point per point why, or an example, I should say, of misinformation. And we're going to attempt to dissect Ryan Ellis's really bullish forecast on Ethereum, which everyone ran with. So let's get started. Right, so you're not going to see me on screen anymore. So let's go to Ryan Ellis, I should say. He's a publisher on Coinstack, and the founder of two companies. And he went to the University of North Carolina, and he has an economics degree from there. And here's where he intimidates people. He has an MBA from Harvard Business School. So when he puts out something to his 23,000 followers on LinkedIn or a million followers on Substack, people listen. So let me give you an example. This news report talked about Ethereum reaching $10,500 using a discounted cash flow valuation. And they pointed to his valuation model, and here are the inputs. At this time, you can see he had revenues of $19 billion. That was his forecast for 2022 revenues over at Ethereum. So I've got a lot going on here, but before we do that, I'm going to show you why this just went on fire, and everyone started resending it, retweeting it. This guy, Sean Puri, who has a million followers, whatever it is, has a huge number of followers. I guess he might be the one that got this started. He said Ethereum is undervalued by 4 times, and then he showed the math, and here's the math actually right here. Again, he pointed to this spreadsheet from Ryan Ellis with this annualized revenue of $19 billion, and this is a spreadsheet. And you can look here, I'm circling it. He has a 352% proposed increase of the value of Ethereum to $10,600. So I'm thinking, what the hell? This doesn't make sense to me. And can you even use discounted cash flow? And my friends, the answer is no. So even though this guy went to Harvard Business School, and we should respect him, and he does have footnotes in which he qualifies all this data that he put out. We have to question everybody, and this just doesn't make sense. I'm going to point that out to you step by step. First of all, we need to verify the revenues. So if you go here to Token Terminal, they have revenues for the last 30 days of only $54 million. That's it. Folks, that's an annualized revenue of only $657 million. And that's because, of course, people are not basically trading Ethereum as much, and they're not trading NFTs as much. So annualized revenue has gone down to only 0.7 billion. So think that's down substantially from the $19.3 billion that we have here. So another thing I like to do is I like to verify this number. So I go to yet another website, Crypto Fees. And if you take the 1 day or the 7-day average fees, you can annualize that data and get a forward number for Ethereum's revenue. And if you don't believe that, you can go to Glassnode, and you can analyze that data. And this is actually where Ryan Ellis got his data. He took the monthly data here, so you can see fees here, right here. Let's get it. As of January 2022, the fees were $1.35 billion for Ethereum. And what he did was he annualized these fees. I think he went up to the last few months, so maybe he took the fees for January and then February and then March and April, and he annualized those fees. But since he did that, there's been a huge decline in revenues for for Ethereum. Actually, I think it went back more. Let's go back. So you can see here, there was $1.8 billion in fees as of November 21. So he went back a little more. He took those fees and then he annualized them. And that's how he got to the $19.3 billion. So the problem there's a twofold problem. Number one, you can't do this for discounted cash flow. Number two, he considered that there's no expenses, and I'll show you that later. And number three, it didn't account for the crypto winter. And number four, the most important assumption that he did, which doesn't make sense, is remember, Ethereum has high gas fees. That's why there's all these competing level ones, right? Like Avalanche or Solana. He didn't assume that Ethereum's gas fees would go down because of upgrades in Ethereum network or from competition from level ones. So that's another issue. So let's go back here and look at the model here. You know what? I actually have I actually downloaded the spreadsheet. So let's look at that so we can drill down into it. If you look at the spreadsheet, he later reduced this number to 4.5 billion. But what I want to show you is here, he has no expenses because he assumes Ethereum has no expenses at all. But for example, if the SEC says that all tokens are securities, there's definitely going to be regulatory expenses. So that's just one example. And then there's a growth rate. As you can see now, the growth rate is incorrect because it's declined from his expected growth rate up to 19.5 billion down to probably under $1 billion. So let's see what happens if we put a more realistic revenues. Remember, this was $19 billion where you see 4.5. So let's reduce that to something that's more realistic. So I'm going to go here. Sorry, let's go back here. So we're going to go take this number and we're going to reduce this to a more realistic number by dividing it by 3 or 3.5. Let's divide it. So here, if we divide it by 3.5 just to reduce the number, we're getting 1.3 billion in revenues. Now remember, annualized revenues only 0.6 billion, as I showed you on another spreadsheet, on another website from CoinTracker or whatever it was, DAP Radar. But let's leave it over $1 billion because revenues were higher earlier in the year. So let's see what happens to the price of Ethereum. So the price of Ethereum using a discounted cash flow goes down to 1,037. That's a huge decline. So it's already lower than what's trading today. Now the second point I want to make to you is this. These cash flows here, see, he's making these revenues go equal cash flow because there's no expenses. So he's discounting these cash flows here. You can see present value. I'm going to highlight them for you so you can see them. He's discounting these cash flows by 12%. Now that's a mistake because if you go to, I'm going to get it for you. If you try and figure out what the average discount rate is, that's called the WACC, the weighted average discount rate. But because Ethereum has no debt, and debt's usually cheaper than cost of equity, you have to only use the cost of equity. And to use the cost of equity, you got to use this formula, the capital asset pricing formula. And this, you can look it up on the Corporate Finance Institute.com, and it explains what it is and how to calculate it. But I'm going to keep it simple for you. Basically, what this formula depends on is beta. That's the most important thing you need to know. And here's an example. They're figuring out the expected return by taking a risk-free rate plus beta times the market risk premium. So this is pretty good, 12.5%. But what we need to do is increase this beta from 1.5 to the beta of Ethereum with the S&P. I'm not sure what it is, but I know it's got to be huge. It's got to be at least 2 times. So if you did that, you would get a much higher number than 12.5%. So let's go back to the spreadsheet. So if we put a higher number than 12%, because 12% is unrealistic, this is more like a blended discount rate of debt plus equity for like a normal company. This is not for a crypto. So if you put this for a normal company, this DCF value of $1,000 is going to go down further. So let's do it. Let's raise that rate from 12% to maybe 16 or 17%. So let's put 16%. And now watch the expected increase. It's going to go down from minus 37% to even lower number. And the DCF here is going to go from 1,000 to an even lower number. So let's do that. So look, it goes down to $650. I'm going to highlight for you. It goes down to $653. So that's a huge decline from where we are trading today. You know what? Let's go to the screen. Let's see what it is trading today. I don't even know. I would guess it's trading at 1,500. So let's type in ETH and see what it's trading at. Oh, I got ethanol. We don't want ethanol. We want Ethereum. I think it's 1,000 here, $1,300. So if we go back here to the spreadsheet and we put $1,300 as a current value, and I'm going to highlight it in yellow, you're going to see the expected increase, and I'm going to highlight it in yellow and maybe put a font in red. It looks like the projected decline is 51.7%. So there you have it. That's what I think the projected decline could be from Ethereum if you use a discounted cash flow. But I don't think you can use this model anyway because there's a flaw to it, multiple flaws. The biggest flaw here is these revenues, because as you know, the newer generation 2 and 3 level 1 projects like Solana are going to have much lower revenues, and I don't think they're going to make up revenues with higher transactions, especially now because we're in a crypto winter. And remember, what do people do with crypto? They trade it most of the time, and they're trading lower values, and they're just trading less, fewer transactions on NFTs because that's a bubble that blew up. So I hope you liked this presentation where I showed you how there's incorrect information from really smart people like Ryan Ellis from Harvard Business School that has shown much higher valuations for Ethereum that just are based on false assumptions. And thank you so much for joining us at Lamb's Cryptoverse. And if you like these videos, please like us and subscribe to us, and we could put more out there and we could show you where all this misinformation is. Thank you very much.